Fahrenheit 451 is coming. Burn them to ashes, and then burn the ashes. That was the motto of the firemen who hunted down and burned bugs wherever they found them in Fahrenheit 451. It was also stated, if you don't want a man unhappily politically, don't give him two sides to a question to worry him, give him one. Better yet, give him none. Let him forget there is such a thing as war. If the government is inefficient, top-heavy, and tax-mad, better it be all those than that people worry over it. Peace, Montague. Give the people contests they win by remembering the words to more popular songs or the names of state capitals or how much corn Iowa grew last year. Cram them full of non-combustible data. Chock them so damned full of facts they feel stuffed, but absolutely brilliant with information. Then they'll feel their thinking. They'll get a sense of motion without moving, and they'll be happy, because facts of that sort don't change. Facts. Where did you find your facts? Invariably, once upon a time, it will have been in a book. You went to the library, and you took out a book, and you read it, or a book was gifted to you, or you went to a bookshop and bought a book. For those of a certain age, encyclopedias were a font of all knowledge. There was no internet. Now, people obtain more of their information from the internet than necessarily from reading a book, but books still hold an importance. For those who like something tactile, it's so important. It's so necessary. Ray Bradbury, the author of Fahrenheit 451, wrote, I still love books. Nothing a computer can do compared to a book. You can't really put a book on the internet. 3 companies have offered to put books by me on the net, and I said, if you can make something that has a nice jacket, nice paper with that nice smell, then we'll talk. All a computer can give you is a manuscript. People don't want to read manuscripts. They want to read books. Books smell good. They look good. You can press it to your bosom. You can carry it in your pocket. Bradbury there recognizing the tactile aspect of a publication, of a book. But there's more to it than that. Books are slabs of history. They tell us how the world was, how it was seen, how it was wrote about at a particular point in time. And they're especially important in that regard. Yet, as I have explained to you in recent parts, passing of a sort of loose-based series about the concerns that certain narcissists amongst the woke are seeking to censor in a way of rewriting history, I again bring to your attention steps that are being taken that erodes your essential freedom to know the past, an attempt to rewrite the past so that it was no longer seen in the way that it actually occurred. I've explained to you that the narcissist needs to assert control, and therefore many things threaten that sense of control. One group of narcissists, although they come from different sub-schools, operates in a manner of believing themselves to be good people, kind people, that they prescribe the way that you must see the world. And they do this by telling you that certain behaviours are acceptable, others are unacceptable. They #be kind you. And they also seek to censor the written word, declaring that once what came to pass should be no longer. We've seen this with the attempts to deal with Roald Dahl's books. There was attempts with regard to P.G. Wodehouse's books. Certain individuals operating with a sense of entitlement that come along and decree, we're not going to have it written that way, we're going to change what the author originally wrote. This fails to recognize that boundary, that it is the work of the author, not of them, the revisionist. It shows lack of accountability for those behaviors. shows an absence of emotional empathy for the original author and, of course, other people that are being denied the actual words and phrases used by that author. But it continues apace. Peter Chappell in The Times has explained that a third of librarians have been asked to censor or remove books by members of the public, research has revealed. A survey by the Chartered Institute of Library and Information Professionals, CILIP, found that people were using threatening behaviour to insist that books on empire, race, and LGBTQ themes be removed. A third of librarians said they had been asked to remove works from collections and had even been threatened. Now, of course, not all of those individuals that are issuing the threats are narcissists, but many of them will be. Lacking tolerance to a different viewpoint, believing that they are entitled to go along and say, you should remove these works, and if you don't, or else. The research by CILIP, the UK's Library and Information Association, found that requests for censorship had increased significantly in recent years. Nick Poole, CILIP's chief executive, said, "We've heard reports of requests to remove materials that deal with race and empire and Britain's colonial heritage." Pausing there, this is a disgrace. You may not like the fact that Britain had an empire. You may not like the fact that Britain was very good at winning wars and stamping its colonial heritage around the world. But the fact is, it happened. There are different ways, of course, to portray the way that this occurred. You can, on one hand, write about it and describe it as a good thing, that it brought technology, advances to certain countries. Certain sports were spread this way, cricket being a notable one. That there were cultural influences that went in both directions. Of course, you can write it another way to explain that it was also a bad thing, that people lost territory, lost treasures, lost lives. But the fact is that it happened, and of course Britain wasn't the only country that had an empire. Empires have come and gone all around the globe through history. But the fact is, to remove materials that deal with race and empire and Britain's colonial heritage is an outrageous form of censorship. Mr. Poole continued by explaining, "We've even had a round table with some librarians who have received personal threats of violence around their work on decolonising collections or balancing that historical perspective in their collections. Part of our job is to maintain book stock that tells the whole of that story and to be unafraid in telling that story." Poole told The Guardian that no librarian should ever be afraid as a result of doing their job for the public. "We want to get past this period of culture war and politics and really focus on the job in hand," he said. "It continues to be true that it takes just a spark in a children's book to inspire a young person to go on and do something brilliant. That's what we want to focus on doing." Of the librarians who responded to the research, 82% said they were concerned by the increase in requests from the public to have books removed. Lucy Banks, Reading Development Manager at Libraries Unlimited, a charity that manages centres in Devon, said her staff did not censor the books. "We're pleased to have that role within society as a hub of trusted information," she said. "We are not getting the complaints, but we are aware of those wider conversations, and they do sometimes crop up in the library. We're supportive of everyone's rights, regardless of background, lifestyle, gender, or age. We see it as our fundamental job to make our libraries as warm and welcoming for as many people as possible." It was reported last month that libraries across Devon were putting older editions of Enid Blyton novels containing outdated words and phrases in off-limit storage spaces. These editions contain trigger warnings, alerting readers to the language or themes. Book bans have been reported widely in the United States. PEN America, a free speech organisation, reported 1,477 cases of books being removed from schools over 6 months last year. An investigation by The Times last August found that British universities were removing books from reading lists to protect students from challenging content. Oh, the poor lambs, how they ever manage in the big bad world. These included The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead, which won the Pulitzer Prize in 2017. This historical novel was removed permanently from a course reading list at Essex University because of concerns about its graphic depictions of slavery. Slavery happened. It wasn't very pleasant. It doesn't tend to be. Somebody writing about it is explaining it how as it was. Why that should be removed? Well, it shouldn't. But they do because they think that they know better. These particular individuals, some of which are narcissists, some of which are not, but it's the narcissists that invariably do so with greater gusto, and the herd mentality of individuals is that they follow the lead of these narcissists, is such to behave in a way to say, you're not allowed to know about these things. I am, and I'm allowed to judge that this book should be removed, and you, Mr. or Mrs. Librarian, you should remove it because I say so. Assertion of control, lack of emotional empathy, sense of entitlement, poor boundary recognition, lack of accountability for actions, aspects of the narcissistic dynamic, all being evidenced in such behaviours. Once again, these individuals that insidiously are creeping into your world, into your lives, telling you how it should be, are doing so because they believe that they are right, and they're doing it to assert control over you. You should not stand for this. Go to your libraries, make the requests of the books to ensure that they continue to be used. Ensure that your library perhaps contains those more controversial books that people should be able to access, so that they can form their own views by an intelligent reader looking through the material and forming their own viewpoint. Because if you don't start doing this, and if you continue to tolerate the incursions of these wokest narcissists, it won't be long before a fireman will be kicking down your door and burning the books. Remember, these things don't happen overnight. It's the steady, subtle, insidious salami slicing that takes you to a position that some of you can't contemplate. But that's how it starts. And it's all because certain individuals deem this literature subconsciously to be a threat to their control. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.